So I'm going to ask somebody who I admire very much, not just because of what she's done here, but long before Jocelyn Benson was a name here in the state of Michigan, she was busy doing the work. And as we looked at honorees for our 2013 Great Expectation Awardee, I have to admit, sometimes it's a big expectation. You know, we're making a big stretch for some individuals to say, well, they're probably going to do some good things, you know, down the road, and they got a good, chip on their shoulder, and so, this can help propel them in the right direction and keep them encouraged. But as we looked at the life and the work of Dr. Jocelyn Benson, who's done extensive work with registering voters, the work that you've done down south prior to, her resume is just phenomenal. And she certainly needs no introduction at an NAACP Allies meeting, because she's been our ally in this community for many years. And so we're just excited that Jocelyn is now over at the Wayne State Law School. We know that great things are going to be coming out of that experience, and we certainly know that we have a friend that we can pick up the phone and reach out at any time we need to. And so the podium is all yours, Madam Dean. Let's welcome the Dean of Wayne State Law School.
Well, thank you, Donnell, and I'm a little overwhelmed by that introduction, because I started my career at the Southern Poverty Law Center in Montgomery, Alabama, wanting to, and it's interesting. I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about today, but after listening to everything about the march, it really, I love coming to these meetings because it really just takes me back to my roots. It just takes me back to everything I want to do with my career and everything. And my parents are special education teachers, and so from an early age, I got an understanding and was instilled with this sense of recognizing that we're all interconnected and that we all have a responsibility of ensuring every voice is heard, because we're all better off when every voice is heard. And if the goal is to ensure that our government, that our halls of power are truly reflective of everyone, the goal is intertwined with my hope that the policies that come out of our institutions will be embracing and respectful of everyone and empowering for everyone. And so I've really tried to construct my career about answering this question of how can we seek true empowerment for every citizen, every individual in our country, and really in this world. What does real empowerment mean? And so I want to talk about that from the vantage point of Wayne State and also the political arena. But first, I just want to pledge my support to this march, because it is. I know we're all in the choir here, but I really want to implore everyone in this room to go above and beyond to ensure that this is a turnout that rivals 1963, that exceeds 1993, because this is an incredible time an incredible moment to make a statement in a city where literally the governor has silenced the voices of so many voters by imposing an emergency manager who, if you want a side story about the meeting last night at Wayne State, I'm happy to tell you that too, because the way that came about was literally misrepresented to us at the university. We weren't told anything until a few hours before, when it was announced publicly what was happening. And so I'm happy to talk a little bit more about that. But the bottom line is that we have a responsibility to those who've come before us and who've sacrificed so much to continue the battles that were fought and that have been fought for centuries, since the inception of this country. And I believe strongly, when I worked in Montgomery and I worked at Southern Poverty, I learned a lot, saw a lot, did a lot of interesting things. But it was a moment at the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama, where I still take my students there every year, because if you want to get a true sense of courage and bravery, walking over that bridge and realizing, at least to me, what it was like in the middle of nowhere to be facing state troopers simply to stand up for the right to vote, for rights that are promised in the Constitution for every citizen of this country. The bravery and the courage that march to me typified, that every march in the movement typified, was so moving to me in particular. That Edmund Pettus Bridge moment, which is that I basically said a prayer at that day to just be used in any way that I could to continue the work that had been going on for generations before me. And since then, have done a lot of different things, but that moment to me was critical because that's really all that I want to do with my career is to the John Lewises of the world, to the Donnell Whites of the world, to the Reverend Anthonys of the world, to the leaders of this work, to just do my small part to continue the movement forward, because we all have a responsibility and obligation to everyone who sacrificed before us to ensure that their sacrifices were not in vain. And as we sit here with 2 days away from what may be a landmark decision by the United States Supreme Court to gut the Voting Rights Act, which is the reason I became an attorney, because I wanted to enforce the Voting Rights Act as a way of furthering the achievements that had been made and fought for in Selma. It only underscores the fact that our work is not done, that we've got a lot of work left to do, and that every single one of this room and everyone who's outside this room, everyone who was at that dinner, that incredible dinner in April for the Freedom Fund, and everyone who believes in this work, our belief is not enough. We've got to fight and we've got to work because the battles are not over. They've just changed. And so this march, I think, is symbolic of that, is representative of that, but it's also important for any of us who do this work to ensure that this march is a groundbreaking groundswell of support for the issues we care about, because we have, it's all we've got in terms of pushing back against the onslaughts locally, in our state, and in our country, trying to minimize the right to vote and minimize political empowerment, which again has been going on since the inception of our country. It's this constant back and forth between efforts to empower and raise voices in the political process and efforts to minimize those voices. And at the bottom line, all of that is about power. As we all know, seeking power and arguments over power and who should have power and who shouldn't. But in a democracy, everyone has power. In a democracy, everyone should be treated equally. In a constitution, under a constitution such as ours, equality is a mandate in every institution, and we're not there yet. So I, as you know, believe very much in protecting the right to vote and ran for Secretary of State and hope to again, out of the view that we need that office to be an advocate for voters. And I'm proud that I stood here as a candidate several years ago and said my first meeting as Secretary of State will be with the Detroit branch, will be with Reverend Anthony, and because that is exactly what that office should be doing. But that aside, political empowerment is not enough. And we need not just to protect access to the vote, we need economic empowerment as well, and we need educational empowerment as well. And so I'm really proud to now be spending some time as the Dean at Wayne State Law School working on those other two pieces: access to justice, access to the courts, access to education, and access to jobs. And so I want to talk a little bit about what we're doing at Wayne State and invite you to be involved in those efforts as well, because I think I'm hopeful that I can use my time as head of this institution to further the goals that we all believe in. Number one, on economic empowerment. The first thing I did as dean was launch a program in entrepreneurship and business law right here in the city of Detroit. And we view our responsibility in that program as helping inventors and entrepreneurs in the city realize their idea, their next great idea. And the work that we've done over the past few months to link individuals in the city with ideas, with a business plan, with incorporation papers and all the rest, has been nothing short to me of inspiring and incredible. It's led by, the program's run by Eric Williams. You may know Eric, hopefully you've seen him around. You may know his dad, Amos Williams, who ran for Attorney General several years ago and has also been very active in the legal community. Well, I'm proud that we brought Eric back to Detroit, where he's from. He was in New York practicing law. We wanted him in Detroit. And he's running this program, and let me just tell you, basically we serve citizens of Detroit who want to start small businesses. And there's one of my favorite stories is about this woman who was dealing with or going through menopause, woke up in the middle of the night and was having hot flashes, couldn't find anything to help, and went to her kitchen and started mixing all of these materials together and all these different types of things that she had, because there was no place she could go to buy anything. So she basically made her own concoction that was sort of a cooling gel, that wherever she put it on her, it would help her cool, and it worked. And it worked so well that she said, maybe I want to share this with some other folks. And she started doing that. And she came to our program in entrepreneurship, our clinic for small businesses, and said, I've created this gel. It cools, and no matter what you put it on, it cools it down to about 70 degrees, 68 degrees. I want to see what I can do with this. Well, she now has a 7-figure offer for this invention that she's patented, because and we had actually a chemist come in and try to replicate what she created, and he said any different amount or even order through which she mixed things, it would have not worked. But the precise order, the precise amounts, everything she created this product that now she's able to, with our help, patent and sell. And we're really proud to be essentially leaking this incredible inventor in the city of Detroit to a business opportunity and wealth, which is really, to me, the tool and the key to economic empowerment. Taking great ideas that are in the community and making them, ensuring that they bring wealth into the community. So our program on entrepreneurship and business law is open to anyone in the city of Detroit who wants to start a business. We do all the legal work free of charge, business plans, and we link students to entrepreneurs so that students learn as well from those who want to start businesses about all the ways to do so. So please help us spread the word. I've spoken to the Black Chamber of Commerce and many other organizations about this. But as you have individuals, or you hear of individuals who have great ideas, I strongly believe in a lot of the outside investment we're seeing into the city, but I more so believe that the importance of ensuring we're investing in our residents, because I believe when we're talking about economic redevelopment in our city, a lot of those solutions are going to come from residents who are already in the city of Detroit, and we want to help amplify those voices of our residents through this program. The last thing I'll talk about is that program I'm very proud of, but we also have launched the Keith Center for Civil Rights, and through that are doing a lot of work to increase access to education for the citizens in our city, as well as throughout the state, whether it's through developing scholarships for graduates of public high schools in Detroit to come to Wayne State Law School and study, or whether it's working and actually going into high schools in the city of Detroit and teaching students about their rights, to protect them from being wrongly suspended and other sorts of things, or wrongly criminalized, partnering with groups like the NAACP, with the ACLU on addressing the school-to-prison pipeline issues. Protecting access to education is a key priority for us at Wayne State Law School, not just because we're a public education institution, but because we know if we're going to be serious about seeking empowerment for everyone, we need to ensure everyone has access to the empowering tool of education. Because voting is important, being able to achieve wealth and economic power is important, but all of that ties to education and an opportunity to have access to quality education. So we're dedicated to that as well. So I invite you to come visit our law school. We've just created, we literally have built a new Center for Civil Rights, which includes a somewhat of a small museum and dedication to a lot of the attorneys who have done so much, like many of you in this room, to seek justice. We see overall for our students, our goal at the law school is to create the next generation of advocates for justice, to communicate to the students who come through our halls that a law degree is a tool of service. It's a tool to serve others and to help others. And my hope through developing this vision for our law school is that we can seek to have an impact on a legal community in that regard. So we're open for business. We're an open partner for all of your organizations, and we want to be part of the Ask a Lawyer program and everything else, because it's just an honor to be running this institution at this time where we can make a contribution to the revitalization of our city in the way we can. Thank you again for having me here today. Thank you very much for the Great Expectations Award. It was, if not one of the greatest honors of my life, as someone who has really just tried to build a career around civil rights and access to justice, to be honored and recognized in that way. was again, and to have my husband there who's in the Army and was only home for a couple weeks, and he was, I mean, it was just one of the best nights and honors that I've ever received, so thank you for that. But it's only recommitted and rejuvenated my commitment to this work. So I look forward to partnering with all of you as we work together to continue the fight. Thank you.